From an energy efficiency contest to a high school environmental design curriculum to creative outdoor murals, Strengthening Communities is making a difference in Memphis. 17 projects in 16 Memphis neighborhoods and more than $200,000 in grants over 3 years add up to Strengthening Communities.
The initiative pairs University of Memphis faculty and students with community organizations to work on neighborhood projects and improve the local economy. Projects tackle persistent problems of safety, housing, health, transportation, education, and economic development in many Memphis neighborhoods. Community organizations choose the projects. Students and faculty members team with community members to provide the expertise. Strengthening Communities is supported by grants from the Community Foundation of Greater Memphis and United Way of the Mid-South. It is managed and administered by the School for Urban Affairs and Public Policy at the University of Memphis. Some 25 faculty members and 400 students from many of the university schools and departments have been involved in the neighborhood projects.
The goal of the Strengthening Communities initiative is to produce cutting-edge examples of neighborhood-based projects that strengthen neighborhoods and increase local organizational capacity through collaboration. At the heart of this effort are 3 key components. First, a commitment to reciprocal relationships between university community partners, including students. Second, achieving a discernible impact through the development of new approaches to neighborhood revitalization efforts. And third, creating an innovative capacity building effort that is documented, evaluated, and disseminated. By partnering with neighborhood groups from every part of Memphis and faculty and students from every college at the university, this effort is an important step for building innovative approaches that are grounded in the heritage and experience of the city and this region.
We've found that there's an opportunity for every discipline, and we've had interest from around 200 nonprofit neighborhood groups in the community. It isn't always the connections you would expect these groups to make, however. Some projects have really surprised us. Even the most traditional fields of study can be relevant because of personal interest in strengthening our communities.
The first round of grant recipients was awarded grants in 2008 and have now completed their project cycle. The Beltline project brought together the Jacobs Ladder CDC and the Department of Anthropology. Beltline residents and neighborhood youth developed video oral histories of their community in efforts to preserve and honor their past. The project will ensure that community residents have a voice in the fairgrounds redevelopment process.
Our project was a collaboration with Jacobs Ladder CDC that functions in the Beltline community and the Department of Anthropology. We launched a youth video Oral Histories Heritage Project where we hired 6 to 8 youth, and the youth were trained in video ethnography, they were trained to design interviews, and then they identified elders in the neighborhood who they interviewed and then learned how to edit into a series of short films on the community history.
The Uptown project combined the work of Bridges Incorporated with the Department of Architecture. The project involved the creation of a middle school curriculum and a series of field trips that demonstrated environmentally sound building design.
The Strengthening Communities grant funded a start project for Bridges, and the initiative was called Ordinary to Extraordinary Learning and Leading Green, which was inspired by the Bridges Center, which is the first green building in the city of Memphis. And we really wanted to develop an educational and leadership development program centered around the environmental concepts and principles of our building, using our building as a teaching tool. It's a really innovative concept. And in order to do that, we partnered with University of Memphis, Michael Hagee and his architecture students, who focused on sustainable design. They really helped us focus in on the lead, aspects of green building design, and really helped us provide the expertise around sustainable design with relation to how to just teach overall environmental sustainability concepts and principles and inspire students to practice those concepts in their daily lives. So it was really amazing. We had a lot of success, and I'll let Michael tell about all the great academic impacts that came out of it.
And one of the things that was so wonderful about working with Bridges was the opportunity for the architecture students to get practical experience and interestingly in areas other than architecture. For example, using their skills in architecture to work with the Bridges staff on developing the math and science-based curriculum to help improve the test scores. And so one of the things that's been really wonderful about it as an outcome is now the success of our project has led to the creation of a policy within the Department of Architecture that all design studios must have a community component with a community partner. And it really has fostered the idea of a culture of engaged scholarship within the department that's really turning out to be quite successful, I think mainly as a result of working together on this project.
The University District Project was a collaboration between the University Neighborhoods Development Corporation and the Department of Art. University residents worked with students and faculty to design and implement a series of art projects throughout the neighborhood. Art workshops.
We added to the program so much as we went. We kept, it was like everyone else has said, it grew organically. The mural idea turned into an art student competition. You know, this is only about a $10,000 funds for a community group, but $10,000 went a really, really long way for visibility and participation in the community. The art education piece was a Saturday school for elementary age kids to learn about art in the neighborhood, and a lot of great relationships were strengthened and created as a part of the process.
The Roselle-Ansdale project brought together the Pigeon Roost Neighborhood Association and the Department of Civil Engineering. Students and faculty conducted a study in the Roselle-Ansdale area to gain a better understanding of how residents perceive the neighborhood and how they use its resources. The study will lead to a development plan and policy changes to increase pedestrian traffic in the area.
Our project was focused on developing a sustainable transportation plan for the Roselle-Ansdale Neighborhood Association.
When I was a kid and growing up, Lamar was an attractor for the neighborhood. We had all of our stores. You could come there and get your groceries, get your hair cut, get your clothes, and the churches were nearby. And people came from both sides of the neighborhood to Lamar, and even from out of other neighborhoods would come into Lamar to shop. Over the years, in the last 30, 40 years, that has certainly not been the case. Now it's been a divider, and people on one side of our neighborhood don't really have a chance to mingle or socially interact with people on the other side. So we set out to try and increase the ability of people to walk and the desire of people to walk through the neighborhood. And to do that, we knew we needed places to walk to and something to do when you got there. And they had to feel pretty safe and secure when they were walking along the sidewalks and streets. We were able to set out to do the planning, planning and the engineering design for McLean to put in sidewalks and bike paths up and down McLean. We met with the city engineer's office and realized they had money to repave it. So we worked closely with them. They've been very cooperative, especially because we have the civil engineering department at the university working with us. That gives us a great deal of credibility, which we didn't have otherwise, and a lot of expertise. The plan grew. The more we looked at it, the more obvious it was that we weren't just connecting two sides of the neighborhood. We were trying to connect all of the neighborhoods together with us, as well as the whole MPO bike plan.
An additional goal for the project was to incorporate service learning into our civil engineering curriculum, which ended up being one of our unanticipated successes with the project, from the standpoint that the students were overwhelmingly supportive of being involved in these types of activities, and commented that they were really able to deepen their understanding of the course content. Plus, they saw the impact that civil engineers can have on society, which was really key for the program. And it really helped us in terms of thinking about ways to improve recruitment and retention into our engineering programs through incorporating more service learning activities.
In October 2010, the Strengthening Communities Initiative received a $25,000 grant from the National Endowment for the Arts to host the first ever Strengthening Communities Summit. Titled Creative Communities, Design as a Community Development Strategy, The kickoff event was a review panel discussion. Round 1 grant teams shared lessons learned and gave suggestions for future program growth. The conference featured 3 speakers of national importance. First up was Elson Nash from Learn and Serve America, a program of the Corporation for National and Community Service. He detailed the many ways that schools and universities include service learning to offer students life experiences that also benefit their communities.
Was that when you are taking oral history of people, honor those stories, and if you find out problems, connect them to social services. And so that's what we did with those young people. As you can imagine, it took a lot to draw out the stories, and we had the college students doing that, but then we were ready, willing, and able to take them and work with the county and school social worker.
Also featured was Ann Coulter, an expert in community development and urban planning. Ann shared her insights on the national significance of the Strengthening Communities program.
Part of the reason we've all been in this room today is the very special and unusual nature of what's happening with this work, the Strengthening Communities. As closely associated as it is with local funders, with the university, with neighborhoods, this should not be a special or unusual thing. There should be a lot more of this, and I know it's not easy.
Ann Spurn, a professor of landscape architecture and planning at MIT, gave a presentation on the West Philadelphia Landscape Project, an action research program she has worked on since 1987.
Ultimately, that's what it's all about. If design is to be successful as a strategy of community development, it needs to be developed out of relationship building, and its future survival over time, its sustainability needs to come from building relationships.
As the Strengthening Communities initiative continues to grow, our plans call for expanding the grant pool with new partners and developing new approaches to neighborhood revitalization that enable Memphis and its neighborhoods to become a place of innovation and creativity.
Strengthening Communities really is making a difference in Memphis.